Councilmember Eaton and Raleigh, and we're at 50 minutes.
Thank you. So I want to try to understand the entitlement process. We're going to go forward and try to design a set of parameters to offer to a developer. And is it correct to say that the preferred option that's identified in the attachment to the resolution is what we're working with when we try to establish the entitlements?
Yeah, so from my lens, we would start with the preferred option in the case of 415 West Washington, which includes as identified dedication of the tree line trail in the appropriate place. It is below the maximum FAR for the master plan for that area. We would, if done through a PUD, we might put together the conceptual plan that refines the concept that you see in the PowerPoint in greater detail to meet the city's ordinance standards of its PUD concept plan. We would also put together the supplemental regulations that would articulate the expectations of public benefits and any sort of restrictions that we would want to be followed. And then if...
My fundamental question is the entitlements are to try to move forward on the concept that's in the preferred option.
Yes. Okay.
And so listening to the neighbors who live closest to this site, they don't feel as if the public participation in developing a preferred option was robust enough. And I understand that you'll continue to listen to them, but it seems like we're going forward with a preconceived notion that should have tapped into the neighborhood sentiment much more than this preferred option seems to. So putting that aside for a moment, I've also talked to a member of the board of the Treeline Conservancy, and I understood that they met with staff a couple of weeks ago or so, and they've communicated to me that they don't think that those discussions had concluded, and they are surprised that we're moving forward with a preferred option before the discussions with the Conservancy have concluded. And so I think that's the reason their director asked us tonight to delay this. And so these two groups, the people who will live in the neighborhood with whatever is built there, and the Treeline Conservancy, don't believe that we've concluded our public input process. And so I'm really hesitant to move forward on this. Certainly we've been talking about this property for more than a decade. And I've probably only been involved in the last 7 years or so, but none of those early discussions conceived of anything like this. And that's exactly why I think that the public input portion of this really needs to happen before we pass this along to the entitlement stage of the process. So I'm going to move to postpone this to allow staff to hold a meeting with the neighbors that can be noticed in our usual form of noticing a development to neighborhoods, and to conclude the discussions with the Treeline Conservancy.
Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Lum. What, you want to see if you can find a date on that, Councilmember Eaton?
Well, I'd like to ask staff how much time they would need to hold that outreach.
We wouldn't be able to start for probably a month or two at least, and I guess it depends on what you would like that to look like. I don't have a problem with delaying moving forward. There's no like funding round or anything like that that's impacted. It's one site of many that we're trying to move forward. So you can delay it for as long as you want, but if we don't know what you'd actually like to see happen, it would be harder to make sure we meet that intent. As far as what does that mean?
So I would like to see staff go back and meet with the Conservancy again, and make sure that they believe that their discussions with staff have concluded. I think that's 1 or 2 meetings. I would like to see a meeting much like that last meeting. I think it was at the DDA offices, except giving the neighbors within 1,000 feet a postcard notice of the meeting in advance, and that would just be 1 meeting. So would the first meeting in June be enough time to accomplish those things?
I think not city council meeting in June, because it takes about a month to get on council agenda. So if we met with folks in June, then it would take until July to bring it back to city council.
Or you think it would take until June to meet with the neighbors?
I don't see it necessarily happening in May, probably.
Okay. So suggest a date that you think would work.
I think the first or second meeting in July would be fine.
Okay, why don't we set it for the first meeting in July, and if that's not enough time, we can certainly postpone it. So that's my motion.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilmember Lum. Discussion of the postponement. Roll call vote on the postponement, starting with Councilmember Eden.
Councilmember Eaton?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
No.
Councilmember Ramlawi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayner?
Yes.
Councilmember Bannister?
Yes.
Councilmember Griswold?
Yes.
Councilmember Lum?
Yes.
Councilmember Grand?
No.
Councilmember Ackerman?
No.
Mayor Taylor?
No.
Motion carries.